Marjorie Taylor Greene is going completely nuclear right now. I knew that once she left Congress, she wouldn't fade into the background. She'd get even louder. And that's exactly what we've seen since she left Capitol Hill. But the video she posted today, along with the evidence implicating Donald Trump, is some of the most unhinged and explosive material we've ever seen from her. And that's saying something, considering her history with conspiracies. This isn't just noise. This is a full-scale effort to take down Donald Trump and expose the lies Carolyn Levitt told earlier today. That's where this all begins. Because it's clear Marjorie Taylor Greene's video and the photo evidence that followed was a direct response to Levitt's attempt to defend a call that even she admits Donald Trump allegedly made. There's a lot to unpack here, but to understand why Marjorie Taylor Greene just completely lost it, we have to start, unfortunately, with Carolyn Levitt and what she tried to spin.
Of course, I have a lot to talk about and a completely separate topic. I was hoping you can clarify something that's come up over the last several days, again, regarding a separate topic in Epstein files. According to newly released files, the president had a conversation with the Palm Beach police chief in the early 2000s, according to the police chief in 2019. The president has gone on record before, and he's told reporters that he said that that he had no idea about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. During this conversation with the police chief, however, he did say, according to this recounting of it, that thank goodness you're stopping him. He also called Ghislaine Maxwell evil. So my two questions are, did that conversation with the Palm Beach police chief happen? And can you explain the discrepancy?
What I will say is that the president has always remained consistent and that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. And unlike many other people who are named in these files, President Trump cut off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was honest and transparent about that for years and years. And so I think what the president has said all along has always remained true. And the release of more than 3 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous, disgusting crimes just shows the level of transparency that this president and administration has committed to in bringing these files to light.
But did he call the chief in 2006? Caroline, did he call the chief?
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that.
So this is the defense you keep hearing from right-wingers, that Donald Trump kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he thought he was a creep and a bad guy. But that argument immediately falls apart because Trump then continued hanging out with Epstein afterward. That alone makes the defense nonsensical. Even Trump himself has said the supposed fallout wasn't about Epstein's behavior. It was about a business dispute over a real estate deal. In other words, according to Trump, he could overlook the trafficking allegations reportedly centered around Mar-a-Lago, but a real estate deal is what really crossed the line. And somehow, that's being presented as a defense. This is also the argument Carolyn Levitt is leaning on. What makes it even more ridiculous is that the phone call she points to as proof of Trump being a good guy is something she herself admits only allegedly happened. She doesn't even seem sure whether that call occurred. And that uncertainty matters because Trump continued socializing with Epstein after that alleged call anyway. So if Trump did contact law enforcement, it actually makes things worse, not better, because it means he spoke up and then still kept Epstein close. On top of that, Trump continues to protect Epstein's associates, including Ghislaine Maxwell, while doing absolutely nothing for the victims. It's a weak defense, and that's exactly why Marjorie Taylor Greene went scorched earth. The video she posted was one thing, but what she retweeted afterward makes it far worse. So Marjorie Taylor Greene posted this video that we're going to watch, writing, "The president called me a traitor for fighting to release the Epstein files, yet the only one who has been against releasing the Epstein files is the man at the top. No one is letting this go."
Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly killed. That's on an FBI form. That's not somebody calling in an anonymous tip or writing it on some deep, dark place in the internet. That's an actual FBI file stating what happened. And people are going to have to completely take in what they are seeing with their own eyes, what they're reading, and what they're being told. The reality is the Trump administration is not releasing the information. And I got yelled at by the president over this. This is why he called me a traitor. He called me a traitor because I would not take my name off the discharge petition, because I stood firmly and said, no, we're going to release the Epstein files. I'm standing with women who were raped as teenagers. I'm not standing with the government. I don't support the cover up of all of this stuff, whatever it may be. And the president got mad at me, and he's told me, and I've said this multiple times, he told me his friends would get hurt. And that's what he told me. And then we're seeing a continued slow walk and cover up of a lot of this information. And I know that is why. I firmly believe that that's why it is being covered up. Look, Pam Bondi works directly for Donald Trump. She is not out there an independent attorney general. She can't just run out and do whatever she wants. She works at the pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. Everybody in the administration does. So does the FBI. They're under the very same pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. So when everyone's getting mad at Pam Bondi, or you can name anybody you want. The man at the top is Donald Trump. He's the president. And he's the one that was completely against releasing the files when we started fighting to get them released. He's the one that called it a Democrat hoax. He's the one that, he invites everybody to the White House, but he will not invite these women that have defended him, by the way. They have defended him and said Donald Trump did nothing wrong. They have defended him, yet he doesn't bring them in the White House and support them. But what you're seeing is, if it looks like a duck, and if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Or it might be a Lutnick.
Swallow.
Right. Or it might be a Lutnick duck.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene has clearly had enough. She's not holding back anymore. She's openly calling Donald Trump out and fully implicating him, because this isn't just about past wrongdoing. The argument now is that Trump and Pam Bondi aren't just covering up something old. They're actively participating in a cover-up right now, and that distinction matters. I'm going to keep repeating that point because we cannot afford to become numb to it. The moment we start talking about this like it's something that already happened and is over, that's when people mentally move on, and we can't. I'm already seeing parts of the mainstream press treat it that way, but it wasn't just Greene going scorched earth in that viral clip, which, ironically, was cut from a liberal organization. She went even further. She retweeted something directly responding to Carolyn Levitt's defense, and what she amplified was far more incriminating. So Marjorie Taylor Greene responded to this post, which shows evidence of the Epstein files, and of course, they're redacted. And this MAGA influencer wrote, "Newly revealed records show that Donald Trump was one of the first people to call the police on Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in 2006. Of course, this was the alleged call that Carolyn Levitt was referring to, and he went so far as to call Maxwell an evil operative. Marjorie Taylor Greene reposted a response that said, "As the leader of Where the F are the arrest community, I feel compelled to respond in kind. This means nothing. Marjorie Taylor Greene is reiterating this means nothing. Trump continued his friendship with Epstein until 2008, and continued his friendship through back channels thereafter." His current administration flat out is the Epstein administration. His FBI and DOJ is covering up Epstein and violation of federal law, having only released 50% of the documents. Trump's DOJ was responsible for the utterly embarrassing humiliation ritual known as Epstein-Bindergate, of course, with all those influencers. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is repeating a point that completely undercuts Carolyn Leavitt's defense. The claim is that Trump supposedly warned authorities about Ghislaine Maxwell, called her dangerous, and then wished her well. And after that, she ends up in a cushy prison setup, private cell space, special privileges, deliveries, yoga, even extra comforts. That doesn't look like someone he viewed as a serious criminal. That looks like protection. And that's why Greene reposting that argument matters. Conservatives are trying to say Trump distanced himself from Epstein, yet he continued associating with him. Even Don Jr. pushed the line that Trump reported Epstein in 2006, while ignoring that contact didn't truly stop. Epstein was still around Trump's circle for years. That's what makes this so damaging. The biggest tell, though, was Carolyn Leavitt saying the alleged phone call to authorities may or may not have happened. If that call were truly Trump's strongest defense, there wouldn't be uncertainty. They'd be shouting it from the rooftops. The hesitation suggests they're still figuring out which narrative helps them more. Whether Trump knew in 2006 or whether he had no idea. But here's the problem. If Trump knew Epstein was running a criminal operation and still stayed close, that's worse. And if he didn't know, that contradicts their own defense. They can't have it both ways. That's why this isn't fading away. Lawmakers like Ro Khanna are reading names into the congressional record to protect themselves legally while bringing transparency. That alone shows how serious this is. The administration's panic isn't subtle anymore, and no matter how they try to spin it, the contradictions keep piling up. Thanks for watching, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop the blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.